What started this was more from a personal experience. First thing first, before you start investing, the first thing you need to put in place is to ask yourself, how am I spending my money? If you're in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, and you are not a Nepo baby, your focus should not be dividend. I opened it and I saw a certain deduction and I streamed.
Hi Florence, how are you doing?
Fine, Adeze. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So, for those who will be seeing Florence for the first time, Florence is a representative from Money Africa. And Money Africa is a platform that I have known over time that teach people about investment and money literacy. So I brought them on board to talk to us as freelancers and remote workers on how we can invest wisely and smartly with the money we make from freelancing and working remotely. So I'm hoping you stick around and you're able to learn smartly and not just wait till only when you have so much money to invest, and you start investing early for yourself. So over to you, Florence. I will just get into it and ask you our first question. Our first question will be a question from the previous guests. As a tradition, we have our previous guest ask us question.
Wow.
So we can ask you, right? The previous guest doesn't know you and you don't know the previous guest until the episodes are out. So are you ready for your question?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So the question from the previous guest is, do you have any regrets working remotely?
I don't just have any regrets. I think I have two major regrets working remotely.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
personal, by the way, so it might not be applicable to you. So first is the fact that when I started working remotely, I realized that I was sedentary. I don't move around. I'm always on my system, 24/7. Most time I just wake up in the morning and I'm on my system. Most time until when I'm tired, that's when I shut my system down. So because of that, I became sedentary, and over time I started adding weight. It was when after adding weight, I went to the tailor shop, and my tailor was like, "Oh, that means you've added so inches." And I was like, "Are you serious?" And she was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Wow." Then the only thing there was the only lifestyle change in my routine was just the fact that I was working remotely, right? So because of that, I told myself that, actively in the morning before I start work, I take a long walk. In the evening when I'm chance, I also take a long walk. And every Saturday, I make sure that I go to the gym just to keep my body active, right? I'm yet to lose all the weight, but I think that's just my major regret. Nobody tells us that, when you work remotely, you have to keep up with your health. And I think the second is going out. So because I work remotely, I'm always indoor. People go out and then they come back, and I'm always indoor. I'm always out at home. And because of this, I hardly meet people. I enjoy meeting people, right? So because I work remotely, I don't get to meet people except I actively create opportunity to meet people. And because of that, I decided to join a community of book lovers. So we had decided that every week, once in a month, we are going to go out and meet. So even when I don't feel like going out, because of I joined the community, I'm able to go out and meet new people. So those are my
Right.
regrets, and I think those are the only two regrets I have.
I can resonate with one of it. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
And with that being said, we will get into the questions for the day. Are you ready for your questions?
Yes, I'm ready, please.
All right, so I'll go with the first question. The first question is, why is investment education particularly crucial for freelancers and remote workers compared to traditional employees?
That's a good question, Adeze. And for every remote worker that will be listening to this podcast, I would like, or freelancers that will be listening to this podcast, I would like to say that one major issue you face and why you need financial education is because your income is irregular. Unlike a traditional employee that knows that, I do 9 to 5, I get paid monthly, my employer pay my pension or retirement benefits. As a freelancer, you have irregular income. You don't necessarily have like a retirement plan. So you need to do all of this yourself. You need to learn how to budget yourself. You need to build a retirement plan for yourself. So investments, education, financial literacy is really, really key for freelancers to enable them actually make good decision, and not just make good decision, keep their money and also grow their wealth. So it is important for
Hmm.
freelancers.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the
Thank
next question will be, what are the biggest financial mistakes freelancers make when managing their irregular income?
you. Adeze, it seems you actually took your time to create this question, right? So I think the first is spending without budget. So freelancers, the income comes most time maybe at the middle of the month. You go out with your friends, you just start spending without budgeting. At that point, you realize that, oh, I need to get a larger screen to be able to carry out my task effectively. I don't really like the wind, I don't like the color of my headset. I need to get maybe a pink color. You understand? I need to improve the lighting. You start spending without budgeting, right? So that is like the major, I think that's like the biggest financial mistake. Another mistake is not saving during your high income season. So
Hmm.
every freelancer have like a season. They have those seasons that, oh, they're in high demand. Everybody's looking for a freelancer. Everybody's looking for you to render this particular service to them. And there's always a season whereby nobody's looking for you. And even when they reach out to you, they're not necessarily paying you that huge amount of money that you're expecting. So you definitely you have your high and you have your low season. And because you have those two seasons, most freelancers don't save during their high season. They just feel that, oh, it will keep on calling, right? And that's not true. There's always a circle. So
Hmm.
not saving during your high income months. And I think lastly is not investing in long term. Most freelancers feel like I just swing it, and most freelancers don't plan about retirement. They don't think about, oh, will I still be doing this job in the next 30 years, in the next 20 years? Will I still be kind of the job? How am I going to take care of myself when I can no longer do this job? Having no retirement plan is, I think I think those are like the biggest financial mistake for most freelancers.
How does a freelance lifestyle create unique investment opportunities that traditional employees might not have?
Hmm. Okay, that's very deep, right, Adeze? So this is it. As a freelancer, you have the flexibility of time, and most traditional employee don't have access to that. Apart from that, you have access to actually do multiple jobs at the same time, which can actually improve your income. So I would like to educate our listeners. There are 3 steps to personal finance. The first is you need to have the ability to make money. The second is the ability to keep money, and the last is the ability to grow your money. Right.
Hmm.
So most traditional employees, when they get their job, they are 9 to 5. They go to the office in the morning and they come back. So that does not give them the opportunity to either pick up other jobs that could improve their income, or not necessarily picking up another job that could, or maybe even use maybe their free time to actually improve themselves, invest in personal development. But guess what? Freelancers have this ability. They can always take out time during the day to actually, not in the night, take out time during the day to actually improve themselves, right? Improve themselves, pick up a new skill and improve their income. But most traditional employees don't have that access. Apart from that, is most freelancers have the ability to actually invest in stocks. They can invest in stocks, they can invest in ETF. Of course, I know most traditional employees have that access too. But then when you look at the income, a freelancer can get paid at the beginning of the month or the second week of the month. But every traditional employee would have to wait until the end of the month before they actually get paid. And when it comes to investing, time is of essence, right? And that is what the freelancer have access to, and the traditional employee does not have access to.
Hmm. I'm trying to imagine a stock just coming out and it's hitting hot, and a freelancer just has a disposable income because they just got paid. A traditional employee might not be able to take advantage of that stock that moment because they have to wait till the month's end.
Exactly, Adizim.
Right.
Just to give you a perfect example, there was earlier, I think last quarter, GT Bank issued this last quarter GT Bank issued an IPO, and it was an opportunity for a lot of people to buy shares, right? Guess what? As a 9 to 5er, you won't have that opportunity, especially if you've not been saving, right? You don't have
Yeah.
that, you have to like wait. But guess what? If you're a freelancer, you don't necessarily even have to wait on. You can easily just improve, maybe put your resume or even reach out to any of your past clients and say, hey, I have the opportunity to do this. Do you have a job for me? Guess what? And you will get paid and you can use that money to buy, right? But
Right.
a 9 to 5 will not necessarily have that. They have to actually wait until they get paid, or the worst they can do is they can get a loan. And we don't advise
Mm.
that you do that.
Right. Right. Thank you. The next question is, what inspired Money Africa to focus on making investment education accessible to everyone?
Thank you so much for that question. And I would like to say that what better this was more from a personal experience. So our founder, Tosin Olasende, had a financial experience, and that was what bettered Money Africa. So let me tell you the story. When she worked overseas for a long period of time, and after a while she was like, oh, I'm going to move back to Nigeria. She has not been investing, but guess what? She has a small car that she has in her name, and that's the only asset in her name. So she told herself that after a while, when I'm ready to move back to Nigeria, I'm going to sell this car. So when it was time to move back, the last weekend before she moved back to Nigeria, she went for a concert. And when she went for this concert, she parked her car. When they were done with the concert, she came out and she realized that her car was nowhere to be found. It has been stolen. And it would have been fine if she had an insurance, but guess what? She did not have an insurance. And because she does not have an insurance, there was no way she could make claims or even recover anything from a car that was stolen. So she moved back to Nigeria with nothing. So she decided that,
Mm.
oh, the next job she gets, she's going to do better with her finances. And to do better, you need to know better. So she started reading. How can she save her money? How can she create a budget? How can she invest her money? On what platform or what asset can she invest her money? So she started reading and she started implementing. And as she's implementing, definitely, you're definitely going to carry your friends along. So she started telling her friend, oh, you should save your money, you should invest your money. And after sharing with her friend, she said, oh, let me share it on social media. Let me spread the gospel to social media. And then she was like, oh, let's get people to know about financial literacy. Let's get people to know about how to save their money, how to budget, how to invest their money. So she started, and that was what actually bettered Money Africa. And now we don't just have Money Africa adults where we teach people financial literacy. We also have Money Africa kids that allow us to actually teach little ones between the age 7 to 17 about their finances. And we decided to take it a step further by introducing Ladder. Ladder is a savings and investing app that allows remote workers, freelancers to actually save and invest their money.
Wow. I can imagine how a bad experience bettered a beautiful idea.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay, thank you for that. Let me ask the next question. For a freelancer just starting, what's the minimum amount they should consider investing, and how should they prioritize this against other financial goals?
Okay, so this is it, right? This is my advice to every freelancer out there. First thing first, before you start investing, the first thing you need to put in place is to ask yourself, how am I spending my money? You need to know where your money is going to. The moment you can establish where your money is going to, then the next is for you to establish what is known as an emergency fund. Because guess what? It
Mm.
is not a question of if, it's a question of when an emergency happens. An emergency will definitely happen. And it might not just be to you, it could be to your family, it could be to your loved ones or your friends, and you want to support. So you should establish an emergency fund. And after establishing an emergency fund, then the next thing you want to do is to ask yourself, based on where I am now, based on my age, my risk appetite, what asset can I invest in? When you determine this, then the next thing is how much do I have as a disposable income to invest? And to answer your question, with as little as 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, you can actually start to invest. The good news is that if you want to take it a step, if you want to take a step further by investing in the capital market where you buy stocks, ETF, you can invest as little as 5,000 naira, right? On a monthly basis or five, depending as the case may be. But at least with 5,000 naira, you can get started and you can start saving. You can save as little as 50 naira, 500 naira, 1,000 naira, 10,000 naira, 100,000 naira based on your capacity. So you should not say, oh, because I don't have a lot, I won't be able to save, I won't be able to invest. That little you have, you should actually start with it.
Hmm. Hmm. So nobody has an excuse as to why they cannot invest because
Exactly.
there's investment opportunity for anybody, no matter what your earning capacity is.
Yes.
Thank you. How should freelancers approach investing when their income fluctuates dramatically from month to month?
That's a good question, Adizim. So this is what I recommend to every freelancer out there that want to actually start investing and don't know how to. First thing first is use a flexible percentage based out approach. That is, you might want to set a percentage for yourself. You could maybe give yourself a percentage of at least 10% of my income. So, which means that if you earn $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, or even $500, you can tell yourself, out of that income, I'm going to put aside 10% and I'm going to invest. Then you can now improve it depending on your situation and then say, oh, why don't I do maybe within the range of 10 to 30% whenever I get paid? So if you can do 30, you do 30, but then you can give yourself a minimum threshold and say, oh, the minimum I'm going to, worst case scenario is 10%, right? But ensure that you have a percentage of your income. You have a percentage of your income that actually goes towards investing.
Hmm. What's the difference between saving and investing? And why isn't just saving enough for long-term financial security?
Okay, that's fine. That's a perfect question. So I'd like to use an example. When you save your money, you're just keeping your money somewhere. You're protecting your money, right? It's like you're dropping your money in a jar. Of course, you can always see your money. And when you need your money, you can go and pick it up. But guess what? Nothing is being added to your money if you don't put anything to it. The best that can happen to you is maybe the bank will give you interest. And guess what? In this day and age, most time when you factor in bank charges, maintenance, and all of that, you realize that whatever interest they are giving you, you are not necessarily in the positive, you are in the negative. Right. So savings simply just help to protect your money and provide form of liquidity to you. But guess what? When you invest your money, you are growing your money. It's like you are putting your money, you are giving your money, and you are asking your money to work for you. You can liken investing to planting a seed on the ground, and you know that definitely after a while, when you water it, when you protect it, when you nurture it, the seed will grow into maybe a tree and that will then produce other fruits for you. So you can liken investing to planting. But when you just keep your seed, when you talk about savings is like you just keeping your money in a seed bank. The seed will not increase. The best is that you might
Hmm.
actually lose some part of the seed. But when it comes to investing, you're planting it and you're watering it. So investing allows you to grow your money.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can you explain the concept of compound interest in simple terms and show how it can transform a freelancer's financial future?
Hmm. Nice question, Adeze. And to answer this, I would like to use an analogy that every one of us have seen or experienced. So I believe that at one point or the other, you might have tried to shut the tap and you did not fully shut the tap. And unfortunately, maybe there was a bucket. So the tap keep dropping. you left the bucket, you have no intention of putting water in the bucket, but because of you did not properly seal the tap, the water keeps dropping. It's possible that you kept your bucket there, you went out as a freelancer, you went to do your job. And then when you entered the bedroom, you wanted to take a shower. You just realized that, oh, the bucket is filled with water. But guess what? You did not put water there. The only thing you did was you
Mm.
tried closing the tap and did not properly close the tap well. So a drop of water keep falling into that bucket. And after a period of time, it has accumulated into a full bucket of water. And in some cases, it has even started to overflow. So that is the perfect analogy of compound interest. That is just to tell you that little drop makes a mighty ocean. And the only time you can see the effect of compound interest in play is when you allow time to do its magic. So you give compound interest the opportunity to show itself, to do its magic when you invest for a long period of time. So a lot of people say, oh, I want to invest. And they told me that, oh, I will enjoy compound interest. But guess what? You just invested for 1 year, you're expecting to see compound interest. You might not see it. But if you keep
Mm.
investing, you are definitely going to see compound interest. And the simple analogy is that, do you know that with as little as if you decide as a freelancer today, maybe you are in your 20s, you're in your maybe you're in your mid 30s, you're in your 30s. Or let's just put a figure to it. Let's assume you are 25 and you have the intention to just stick around and work for 30 years. If you decide to start investing today, consistently for the next 30 years that you've been working, and you made a decision that, oh, I'm just going to invest 5,000 naira every month, I can assure you that 5,000 naira every month will turn into millions. All things being equal, it should be within the range of maybe 15 at a 12% per annum. It should be within maybe 15 to 16 million naira. So imagine by just putting aside 5,000 naira every month, you are getting an average of 15 to 16 million naira. So imagine if you have put 10,000, 10,000, 100,000, 200,000, you can imagine what your investment would be worth. And that is principal
Mm.
plus interest. And in most cases, because you've invested for a long period of time, the interest will definitely be way more than the principal.
Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you. What is the biggest investment myths or misconception you encounter when talking to young professionals or freelancers?
Mm. So I'm just going to rank it in no order. I'm just going to take it in no order. The first is a lot of freelancers, lots of young professionals feel that they need a lot of money to start investing. But that's not true. With as little as 5,000 naira, you can actually start to invest. So you don't need a lot of money. Most young professionals feel that, oh, when I start making lots of money, I'm going to start investing. But that's not true. That money for shawarma that you used to buy shawarma and ice cream, you can actually put it into an investment vehicle. A lot of people also feel that investing is for experts alone. So they go about, they're looking for, oh, who will help me invest my money? That is when they fall into puzzle scheme because they feel that, oh, let me put my money, let me give this
Hmm.
person my money, the person will help me invest. But that's not true. And that is what we preach at Money Africa, financial literacy, right? Even if you would give your money to somebody to invest for, you should have an idea of what they are investing your money into. So a lot of young professionals feel that investing is only for experts, and that's not true, right? All you just need to do,
Hmm.
you just need to do the work. Just like you're learning a new skill, right? You just need to unlearn something, change your money mindset, and learn some new financial literacy. Just learn financial literacy either by reading books, listening to podcasts like this, um, taking up classes, taking up courses, how to just improve your financial knowledge. And I think the third common myth that a lot of young professionals have is they feel that uh, they will only invest when the return is high, right? Most people
Hmm.
don't invest when the return is low. And I'm here to say that's not true. From our calculation, the last calculation I did, I told you that with an average return of 12% per annum. So that is if the company just guarantee you or the stock market just guarantee you 12% per annum, look at how much you will get. So instead of you going about seeking high returns, 50%, 100% return, I've spoken to a lot of young professionals that will say, if I thought, oh, this investment can give you an average of 20 to 30% per handle, they'll be like 20 to 30, they'll be like 20 to 30% is too low. That means, don't you have anything that can give me 50, 100%? And I'm like, you're forgetting something, that the higher the mix, the higher the return, right? So if you are
Hmm.
seeking high return, then be ready you be ready to bear the same level of risks, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think the third is, most people feel that, I think the last would be, a lot of people feel that, oh, because I did not start in my 20s, because I did not start in my 30s, because I did not start in my 40s, I can't invest. But that's not true. Yes, I am aware that we have the circle. We have the world, the stage in your life that, oh, you used to gather wealth, and the stage in your life that you are going to preserve your wealth. But irrespectively, there are still some investment opportunities that you can do at a certain age, even when you are during your retirement phase. There's some investment you can do. But the only downside is that such investments are usually extremely low risks, because we are trying to protect your money.
And protect your BP.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Right, right. Thank you, Dami. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Florence. So the next question will be, how should someone in their 20s or 30s approach investing differently from someone in their 40s or 50s?
Okay, so this is more like a continuation of the first question, of the last question you asked me. So if you're in your 20s, and this is not a financial advice, right? Because usually, for you to be able to have a strategy, for me to be able to recommend a strategy, I need to have like had a conversation with you. You know your risk appetite, know your financial commitment, right? But let's just, all things being equal, if you're in your 20s, you, at that point in life, you don't necessarily have a lot of responsibility. Even if you are married, there's a high possibility that you don't have children. There's a high tendency that people who are at home are not depending on you. So at this point in your life, you can bear a lot of risks, right? So I will advise you to focus on high growth investment, like focus on, instead of you investing in stuff like bonds, I would advise you to focus more on stocks, ETF. They have the ability to grow your portfolio real fast, right? So I advise you to take a lot of risks in your 20s and in your 30s. But guess what? When you're in your 40s, at this time, what you need to prioritize is stability. You also need to ensure that you're protecting your investment. So what I would recommend you do, you might want to diversify into bonds that can provide regular cash flow for you. You might want to diversify into real estate that will provide rental income for you, or any form of low risk assets. That is what I would recommend that you prioritize when you're in your 40s and in your 50s and 60s by extension.
Hmm. So talking of bonds, ETFs, and stocks, what are they and how do we know them? Like in the most simplest manner,
Okay.
how do you explain it to we layman
Okay.
on the channel
Okay.
what they are?
Okay. So I will start with stocks, then I'll talk about ETF, then I would finish with bonds. So what are stocks? Stock is just a unit of a company. So you have a company, the company wants to expand. So as let's take me for example. I own a business, and I've been doing my business as a sole proprietor. I've been managing my business, right? Then at a point I realized that we are expanding. We need more funds. Maybe we want to diversify into other countries, maybe get machineries and all of that. But guess what? There's a possibility that at this point, if I reach out to families and friends, while they understand my business is thriving, they might not have the capacity, they might not have the capital to support this dream and this vision that I have. So what am I going to do? I'm going to, of course, the company have to be a limited liability company, and then I'm going to list my company. There's a lot of process, but I'll not talk about that. You list your company on the stock exchange market. So when you list your company on the stock exchange market, and you'll have, before listing, you'll have actually say, oh, this is the unit, that is that unit of my company or shares of my company that is available to the public. So it's like I'm selling a portion of my company so that members of the public can now buy. Remember, when they are buying, they are giving me their cash, right, or their money. We are more like, I'm more or less like I'm exchanging a portion of my company for, in exchange for cash or as the case might be. And when they give me the cash, I then use this money to expand my company. So you as a shareholder, you now own a piece of my company. So you own a unit of my company, and that makes you a shareholder. So stocks and shares are usually used interchangeably. Now let's talk about ETF. ETF is a bundle of security, right? It's a bundle of security. So ETF is you taking things a bit higher from stocks. So when we talk about stocks, we're talking of you're holding a piece of one company, right? But when we're talking about ETF, we're talking about you're owning a piece of multiple companies. So you can see what
Hmm.
one ETF in can have let's talk about foreign companies, Tesla, Amazon, Coca-Cola, Nvidia, name it, different companies. And the good news is that you're not just investing in different companies, you're investing in different companies across different sectors. So an
Hmm.
ETF can be likened to an AMPA. So remember, if you go to the
Hmm.
supermarket and you want to give to your friend a AMPA, right, you can decide to pick up the basket and create it yourself. When you're creating it yourself, that is you investing in individuals. So you're like, oh, I love crackers. You put the crackers. Oh, I love to get shampoo. We put it there, right? But at the same time, you can just walk into a supermarket and pick up an amper. And when you pick up this amper, it will contain multiple things. It will have, in some cases, you even have home appliances. In some cases, you have cereals and all of that. So you can liken ETF to a hamper,
Hmm.
right? Now, that we've spoken about stocks, we've spoken about ETF. Let's talk about bonds. What are bonds? So bonds are long-term investment opportunities, right? So and bonds can be issued by corporate organization and it can be issued by the government. And there are different types of bonds, but I'm not going to complicate it, right? Bonds are usually long term. In most cases, you can see a bonds can be for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. In some cases, perpetual. That means forever and ever to eternity, right? But then the good news about bond is that they will give you something known as coupon. It's like a return on your investment. They will give it to you on either it could be quarterly, it could be half yearly, it could be annually. They'll give you that return on your investment. So all the return is usually stated when you're subscribing to it. And just talk about two types of bonds. We have corporate bonds and we have the FGM bond. Corporate bonds are being issued by institutional organizations. Can have the likes of Lafarge, Boss Cement, Dangote, all those big organizations. They can issue bond and ask members of the public to subscribe to it. So they are taking money
Hmm.
from members of the public and they are giving the members of the public a bond and they are promising the members of the public that, oh, we'll be giving you a return. It could be quarterly, half yearly, or annually. But now, for government bond, government is now you're dealing with the federal government. It could be wherever you find yourself. It could be the federal government of Nigeria. It could be the United States. Wherever you find yourself, the federal government will definitely issue out bonds, right? And then they will tell you that, oh, we could pay you half yearly, we could pay you annual. It is always stipulated. And the period of time too, that is the maturity date, how long your money will be kept with them. Because remember, you're investing with them at a point in time, they would return your capital to you. It's unlike stocks that you have to sell, right? For bonds, they will
Hmm.
return your capital to you and they're paying you they're paying you coupon on a regular basis. They're paying you coupon on a regular basis. And just to come back to wrap up, when it comes to stocks and ETF, when you invest and you become a shareholder, you are entitled to dividends and capital gain. That is your return as an investor in the stock market. But when it comes to bondholders, what you are entitled to is coupon. So they pay you coupon on a regular basis.
Hmm. That was quite enlightening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, what role should emergency funds play before someone starts investing, especially for freelancers with unpredictable income?
I cannot overemphasize this. Emergency fund is the first thing you're supposed to do before you even think of investing. If you come to me
Hmm.
and say, hey, Danny, I want to start investing, what I'm going to advise you is that do you have an emergency fund? And the reason why emergency fund is a priority to you before you start investing is because we've seen a lot of time whereby people just jump into investing. All their money is invested. And guess what? They have an emergency. And when they have an emergency, they might be forced to either borrow money or sell their investment. And remember, when you are selling your investments when you need it, you'll be selling at a distress. You'll be selling at a discount. And we don't want that. So we always advise that the first thing you should do before you even think of, before you start investing, is to prioritize your emergency fund. Right? An emergency fund is a fund that you set aside. Usually we recommend within the maybe 3 to 6 months, but guess what? We just recommend 3 to 6 months. Your emergency fund should be based on your financial situation. That will determine how much emergency fund you should have. But we always recommend that the minimum you should have in an emergency fund is 3 months of your living expense. So what is 3 months of your living expense? So let's assume that on the monthly basis, I know I'm going to pay for transportation, 40,000. As a remote worker, as a freelancer, I'm going to pay for internet, let's say 50K. I'm going to pay for my groceries and all of that. I'm going to pay for my groceries 100,000 naira. That's approximately 190,000 naira. And of course, my sister in school will tell me, "Hey, Auntie Dami, please can you send us money? We want to pay for handouts." And I've been calling mommy, and she says she does not have money. I'm like, okay, let me send 10,000 naira to my sister. So that's 200K on an average in a month. I've not factored in other expenses, but this is just an example, right? The minimum I should have will be 600,000 in my emergency fund. And the
Hmm.
maximum I would have is 1.2 million in my emergency fund. And the reason for this is because we don't want a situation whereby you put too much cash in your emergency fund. Money that you should have invested, you now push a lot in your emergency fund. That is why we always recommend that minimum 3 months, maximum 6 months. And another thing we
Hmm.
recommend is that your emergency fund should be highly liquid. Because I've seen situations whereby, when you tell people to set aside some money, they'll go and lock it up for 1 year. It is not liquid, because if you have an emergency, you'll start calling the company. I lost my money. Please, can I get my money back?
Or you start calling them out on
Do you
Twitter.
understand? Oh, yeah, exactly. You start calling them out on Twitter that, they're fake and all of that. You should not lock up your money, because you should not lock up your emergency fund. It should be highly liquid. Next is your emergency fund is adequate. I've spoken about adequate, minimum 3 months, maximum 6 months. And the last is at least, we're in Nigeria, especially for those in Nigeria, you should at least, your emergency fund should earn some money, because why would I expect emergency fund should happen? We have situation whereby emergency fund might not happen for like a year, and that money will just be sitting down. So at least a portion of your emergency fund can be put in vehicles like the money market that would give you some form of return, and at the same time afford you the liquidity that your emergency fund requires.
Thank you so much for that explanation,
Thank you.
Florence. Thank you. So, can you what's the difference between buying stocks and investing in mutual funds or ETF, and what approach do you recommend for beginners?
Okay. I think I've explained what stock is, right? So I'm just going to talk about mutual funds and ETFs. So mutual fund is, so let me explain mutual fund and let me just bring it to right. So imagine you have a community of freelancers and all of you trust yourself, right? You guys can decide to, and most all of you on the in the community don't know how to invest. You can all decide that you guys want to take yourself together on the journey of investing. So it's possible that maybe one person among the community is the only financial literate person. So you guys can decide to pool your resources. Someone can say, "Oh, I have 10,000." Another person can say, "No, I have 100." Another person can say, "Oh, I have 1 million naira." Everybody pool their resources together and then give it to a mutual fund manager. That is somebody that is financially literate, that have an investment strategy. Then that person would then invest on behalf of everybody, right? So when that person invests on behalf of everybody, the person can invest in treasury bills, stocks, depending on their strategy. Person can invest. And when the person invests, the person will get a return. And the next thing the person will do is that, "Oh, I'm doing this. I'm not doing it for free, right? So I'm going to keep a portion. It could be maybe 1% of the return." for myself as my management fee. And whatever is left, I'm going to share it for everybody based on the capital invested. So that
You
is
got.
mutual funds, right? And I've explained it here. So how the strategy for investment as a first time investor, this is what I would advise, right? Depending on your risk appetite. If you know you have a very low risk appetite, I would advise you start with an instrument like mutual funds or treasury bills. Treasury bills is issued by the federal government, but it's a short-term investment opportunity, maybe 3 months, 6 months, or a year. I would advise you start with that. And when you start with that, at least when you realize that, oh, I've invested, I've gotten some return, then you are good. At least it will kind of shaping your mindset. Then you have an idea, oh, investment is you put your money here, you get your returns, right? Then from there you can now start diversifying into individual stocks and it's here. I won't be able to give you like a clear cut strategy because to create a strategy, I need to know your current financial situation before I can. But that would be like my guide for somebody that just want to start. Start with mutual funds, start with treasury bills, then you can now approach the stock market.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
How can freelancers research and evaluate stocks or investment opportunities without spending hours they should use to be working on clients' projects?
Okay. There are lots of platforms that have done this work for you. A good example of platform is Money Africa. Like on Money Africa, we do research, we have newsletters. If you join our community, you have access to all our newsletters, you have access to resources that have been comprised that will tell you that, oh, put your money here, put your money here. This is the right platform for you to put your money. This is how you can put your money. Apart from this platform, we have platforms like Nairametrics. Nairametrics churn out a lot of information. They do a lot of research on a daily basis and they churn out this information. So you're expected to do it. And the fact is just that I always say this that financial literacy is not a sprint that you just run and know, oh, I'm not financially literate. It's a marathon. You're expected to educate yourself on a regular basis. You don't necessarily have to tell yourself, oh, I need to put in 5 hours every day or 6 hours every day. It could be as little as when you're taking your bath or when you're doing your dishes, you're listening to a podcast. It could be as little as
Mm.
when you're traveling, you can pick up a book and you read. You understand? It could be as little as before going to bed, rather than doom scrolling, you can actually choose to put this into researching. So the fact is just that all you just have to be, you have to be intentional with all the platform I've recommended for you. You just have to be intentional and then just do your research, right? I'm not asking that you go down the circle and just keep on researching. Because when you don't implement, then there's really no point of the whole research that you're doing. So you research, oh, I want to start investing. I was recommended treasury bills. Let me start with treasury bills. What is treasury bills? You know what treasury? Okay, what platform can I use to buy treasury bill? Ladder. You download Ladder and then you invest. The next time, oh, I want to buy stock. So it's just your research and not that you just sit down a whole day, you leave your clients work and then you say you're trying to invest in the financial literacy.
Thank you for that, Florence. Thank you. Um, what are some red flags or warning signs of investment scams that freelancers should watch out for?
I think the first is promising huge returns within a short period
Mm.
of time. So I've seen a lot of people they'll say, oh, they promise us 100% return. I used to say this that if they're promising you 100% return, you should be scared of putting your money there. Because if the person is guaranteed that, oh, I can get 100% return, the person will go and borrow money in the bank, put their money there, get their returns and their goods rather than trying to get you to invest your money. So
Mm.
promising guaranteed return is something that is almost impossible. The only institution that promises a guarantee return is treasury bills, right? And that is why it is also known as a risk-free investment opportunity. And even the return that they are guaranteeing, it is not 50%. It is not even 30. You understand? And it
Mm.
is per annum. That's for a year, right? So it's not that huge.
Yeah.
Another thing is when they don't tell you what they're investing in. You just say, oh, bring your money, we'll help you invest in it. They don't tell you what exactly they are investing in. That is a major red flag. And then I think this one everybody is aware of it. When they pressure you, oh, put your money today. That is a major red flag. So first thing first, huge return, huge guarantee return. The second is lack of transparency in terms of their operations. You have no idea what they're investing your money to, and then the pressure to invest immediately. Those are like the three major red
Mm,
flags that a lot of freelancers should look out for.
thank you. Can you explain how dividends work and whether they should be a priority for freelancers seeking additional income stream?
Okay, so this is what I always recommend to people, right? If you're in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, and you are not a Nepo baby, your focus should not be dividends.
Nepo babies are those who are very wealthy. Oh. So, know where your category lie. Are you a Nepo or a Lapo baby?
Mhm.
Please go ahead,
Yeah.
Florence.
So if you are not an Apple baby, you should actually just focus more on quotes, growing your portfolio rather than getting dividend, because dividends is usually being paid on the unit of shares that you own. So if you own 1 unit, if you own 2 units, they are going to pay you on the number of units of shares. So they'll tell you that, oh, dividend for this year is 10 naira. Dividend for this year is 20 naira or 15 naira. Now multiply, how many units of shares do you own? Maybe you own 10 units. 50 times 10. You can imagine. It's not
Mm,
substantial. So I always advise that your focus right now, like I mentioned, especially when you don't have a lot of funds to invest in the stock market, should be more of growing your portfolio. You can grow your portfolio sufficiently. Then when you grow your portfolio sufficiently, after a while, you can then decide, oh, at this point, I want dividends. At that point, your portfolio is sufficient to now pay you the required dividend that can then serve as an additional stream of income for you. Not that you're just going to invest and expecting dividends. No, no, no. It does not work that way. Even when they pay you dividends, I will advise that you reinvest it into the company.
right. How important is it to invest in local African markets versus international markets, and what are the pros and cons of each?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So I'll start with the international markets, right? International market allows you to diversify your portfolio. You're not just investing in your local economy, in the local market. It allows you to diversify your portfolio. It allows you to expose for global growth. So let's assume that everybody know that right now we are in the season of AI, we are in the season of technology. Imagine you are still in a developing country, you are not in a developed country. You know that to a large extent, you won't be, if you are investing in the local market, you won't be able to enjoy the growth that comes with investing in technology. So you need to ensure that you are investing in, you diversify your portfolio. Another thing is currency risks. A lot of people, especially when you are earning in the lower domination, if you are earning in the lower currency, you might want to diversify because of devaluation. You don't want your currency to be devaluated, so you may want to just invest in another economy in the global market to actually protect the value of your money. And then I think for the local market is good because you don't necessarily have to worry about, oh, I'm trying foreign exchange rates, I'm trying to invest my money in this currency and all of that. I need to change my money in this currency to invest. You don't necessarily have to bother yourself about. But then when we talk about, I think the major constraint that I feel everybody should look out for is currency risks, right? Currency risks and maybe possible regulations that might be going on in the country you want to invest in. Currency risks,
Mm,
FX risks, which is the same thing. Regulations will if you remember earlier this year, Trump came out and was like, "Hey guys, I'm introducing tariff," right? And then everybody was clamoring. A lot of people started selling their shares because because they know that, oh, when the tariff comes, to definitely reduce the earning capacity of the shareholders, right? So those are one of the key things you need to. And I always say this as an investor, you should be an avid reader. You should read a lot. Know what is going on, where you put your money in, so that you don't end up losing your money.
And I think this is where the aspect of newsletters come in,
Yes.
because if you really don't know where you want to get your news from, you can just subscribe to Money Africa's newsletter where they get the news for you and they summarize it in your email and you read it on a go,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. And the good news is that we
Yes.
send out our newsletter comes on Monday, on Wednesday, and on Friday. So you get
Okay.
weekly commentary about the market on Monday. You get to learn about personal finance on Wednesday, and on Friday we answer all your money questions on Friday.
Thank you. How much of a freelancer's portfolio should be in stocks versus other investment vehicles like bonds or real estate?
To answer you, it's mainly based on your risk tolerance. Mainly based on your risk tolerance and where you are in your investment journey. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're in your 20s, your 30s, you want to put a chunk of your money in ETF and individual stock. But when you're approaching your 50s, 60s, then you should put it in a low risk instrument like bonds, real estate. Right? But that is not to say that, oh, you that you are in your 20s, you can't invest in real estate, cannot invest in bonds, right? But I would prefer you take up more risks because you have the risk capacity. You have a higher tolerance to take up more risks. So I advise that you
Who
expose.
told you I have a higher
Eh,
tolerance? What if I have high BP?
no, no, no,
Eh?
no. But the fact is, the good news is that even if you have IBP, right, Adeze, you have. Imagine you are in your 20s. Even if you lose all your money today,
Hmm.
you can still work and get the money back.
Right.
Worst case scenario is that you just lock in and do a lot of work, right? But guess what? If you are in your 40s, you have school fees to pay. If you are not staying in your own apartment, you have rents to pay. Your capacity to earn income has reduced because a lot of people are like, so you're getting old, you can't even relate with what is going on in the economy, in the society now. So all of that. So that means you have a neutral topics. At that point, if you lose all your money, where will you start from? But guess what? There are some
God, I
people that
beg.
they are in their 40s that are still taking that
Hmm.
risk because they've structured their finances in a way that allows them to take the risks.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Thank you. What are the best investment platforms or apps available for freelancers in Africa, and what should they look out for when choosing one?
Okay, so the best investment platform available for African freelancers, Ladder. With Ladder, you can invest in treasury bills. We are bringing in commercial papers soon, so you can start investing in commercial paper on Ladder. Other platforms that you can use for your investment, we have platforms like Bamboo. You can use Bamboo for investing in stock market.
Stocks.
It allows you to invest in both global and the local market. We have Afri Investor, we have Optimus, we have True. But the key thing is whichever platforms you are using, ensure that it is regulated.
Right. Right. So, what are the bodies we should look out for that regulates these
Okay,
platforms?
so the key body you should look out for is SEC. SEC is the key
Which is
Security and Exchange Commission. So their work is
okay.
to
Okay.
regulate what is going on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
How should a freelancer structure their investment strategy? Should they invest a fixed amount monthly or invest larger amounts when they have good income in a month?
Okay, so what I always recommend for anybody that reach out to me, and I'll be recommending same to you freelancers, is that just invest a certain percentage of your income. So let's assume that in those months that you earn high, you are still investing a certain percentage, which means you'll be investing much that month. And those months that you earn low, you would also invest a fixed percentage, but just that the amount you actually be investing will not be extremely high. So rather than just investing a fixed amount, I advise that you just invest a fixed percentage. An additional recommendation I'll give is that when you get windfall money, so you know there's some people there's some of your clients that will just reach out to you and say, hey, you did this project for me, I would like to give you a bonus. When you get money like that, you might want to just and you know that you don't need the money for something. You can just push such money into your investment platform, into your investment. So But the key thing is on a monthly basis, have a fixed percentage of your income that goes towards investing.
So what you're trying to tell me now is that if my client gives me a bonus, I should not buy shawarma with the
No, no,
money.
no, no, no. Okay, so see, this is this. I'm not one of those invest financial advisors that will say, "Oh, don't live your life. Just put your money in an investment." I believe in living the good life, right? In enjoying
Hmm.
those one or two luxuries, right? But this is what I always advise: structure it. You could decide that, oh, 10% or 20% off. Maybe your windfall money will go into maybe buying those things that you know on a norm you won't have bought with your money. It could be, oh, we ladies, we love wigs. It could be, oh, getting that luxury bag. It could be getting that dress. But guys, it could be getting the sneakers or the wristwatch or the belt. Whatever that luxury item is, get it, right? But then ensure you prioritize your investment. That is just it. I'm not saying you should go on out and put all your money towards towards investing, right? Take out time to enjoy yourself. And the reason why I say this is because I've seen situations whereby most people just invest, invest, and invest. And guess what? At a point in their life, they'll feel that wait, I've just been living my life. My friends can afford have a car, me, I don't have a car. My friends can afford these basic luxuries, I don't have it. So what's the point of working? Then after
Hmm.
making such statement, they end up splurging. So they can just splurge a huge amount of money because over time they've not taken out time to actually spend on themselves, right? And in most cases, after splurging, there's this guilt that comes with, oh, I've splurged my money. And in most cases, most of them don't go back, end up going back to their plan or end up going back to their investment strategy. So I always advise that even on a monthly basis, it does not necessarily have to be when you get windfall. When you're planning, after applying for your living expense, you should also set aside a small money for enjoyment and then another money for your investment. But the key thing is planning. I always say this that if you can plan, if you can have a timetable for your reading when you're in school, when you're trying to learn a skill, even in some
Hmm.
cases, when you're trying to keep fit, you have a meal timetable. Then why not have a timetable? Why not have a plan for your finances? Just have a plan for your finances, you'll be good.
Thank you,
Thank
Florence.
you.
What tax implication should freelancers be aware of when investing, and how can they optimize their investment strategy for tax efficiency?
Okay, so the key tax implication is local taxes such as taxes on your dividends and CGT. Local taxes on your dividends is withholding tax. Before, when you get paid dividends, you are going to withhold a certain percentage of that dividend. 10% usually will be withheld. Then for capital gain, the same thing. You are going to withhold a certain when you enjoy capital gain. Remember what I said about stocks? That as an investor, you're entitled to dividend and you're entitled to capital gain. So capital gain comes when the value of your asset has now increased. So let's assume that you bought a landed property for 1 million naira and you kept it for 5 years. Now, after 5 years, that 1 million naira property is now worth 10 million naira. At that point, when you are selling, you'll be making a 9 million capital gain. So the government would ask you to pay what is known as capital gain tax. But they won't if you take that money and you invest it into land, right? Or you take that money and you invest it into stocks, the government will not charge you capital gain taxes. But if you have invested, they won't charge you capital gain taxes. So you as an investor, you need to plan. You should know that the moment you are taking this money, you have to pay capital gain taxes. If you are taking your dividends too, you have to pay what is known as withholding taxes. So another thing you might want to do is if you are investing for a long term, government actually give room depending on where you are. If you are in the UK, government actually give room for provide what is known as a tax free account. While when you are investing in that particular account, it is tax free. So, but the key taxes you should know is WHT for your dividends and CGT for your capital gains.
Okay, our next question. How can freelancers automate their investments to ensure consistency even when they are busy with clients' work?
That's a perfect question, Adeze. So this is what I always advise, right? the good news is that there are lots of platforms that allow, most of these platforms allow you to connect it to your wallet. So on a monthly basis, you can actually just automate it and say, oh, like on Bamboo, as long as your wallet is funded, you can always recommend that, oh, at this particular date, at this particular time, I want you to buy this particular shares. I want you to buy this particular ETA. So all you just need to do, if you're a freelancer and you feel that, oh, I don't necessarily have the time and I don't want to be buying, all you can just do is put enough money in your wallet and on a regular basis to keep deducting until there's no longer money in your wallet. Same for your savings. If you want to get started with your savings, the funny thing, even traditional banks have these options. Platforms like banks like GT Bank allow you to automate your savings. On a monthly basis, a certain amount of your money will be deducted and will be channeled towards your will be channeled towards your savings. And you just wake up and then you see the money. Platforms
Mm.
like Ladder too allows you to do this. You just connect it to it's what is known as direct debit. You connect it to you put an instruction, and then on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, based on your own instruction, this money will be deducted and invested for you. All you just need to do is take out your time, that one period of time, set it, and also ensure that whichever date you put is a date that, oh, you have funds, your account will have been well funded, so that it does not come when it's time for direct debit and there's no fund in your account. There's no how that automated investment will work.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That was helpful. What's your recommended portfolio allocation for a freelancer in their 20s and 30s who want to build long-term wealth?
Okay, so I'll recommend this. You want to do maybe 20% in a fixed income asset. It could be savings, mutual funds, depending on what you want. 20% can go into that. Yeah, you're 20, so you have the capacity to take a lot of risks. You want to put maybe 10% in cryptocurrency, and please in the stable ones, not in the meme coins, the stable coins. And then after 10% of the stable coins, you want to do maybe 40%. So we have 20, we have 10, that's 30. You want to put maybe 30% in ETF, right? Put 30% in ETF, and the remaining 40% can be channeled towards individual stocks. So that is what I'm going to recommend for somebody in their 20s and in their 30s. But remember, I would like to say this is not a financial advice. If you want a financial advice, then you may want to pick a section so that I would look at what your financial situation is and then I will advise you accordingly.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
How should freelancers factor currency fluctuations in their investment decisions, especially if they earn in different currencies?
That's a good question, right? There's something known as a transaction cost, right? So when you factor in maybe a cost of maybe changing your money from one currency to another, that is a major that is like a major financial cost that you might be bearing and not be aware of. So this is what I always advise for freelancers. If you know you earn in a particular, maybe a predominant currency, then your investment should be in that currency. And then a chunk, maybe a portion of your investment can be in another currency. So let's say, for instance, if I earn in Naira, right, I earn in Naira, and a freelancer and I earn in Naira, I would want to put maybe 60 or 70% of my investment might be Naira based, and the remaining portion can then be dollar based. So that when I'm trying to do conversion, I don't lose my funds as a result of exchange risks.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, how can freelancers use their investments to eventually create passive income that reduce their dependence on client work?
That's a good question, Adeze. And I'm just going to bring back the answer I gave earlier on, which is first thing first, your goal as a freelancer is not to use your investments, especially with the stock market investment, as a form of income to support your lifestyle, right? What you should do is build enough income stream that can support your lifestyle and give room for your investment so that your investment can have enough time to grow, right? But then when it has gotten to a certain it has gotten to a certain extent, your investment is now huge. Definitely at that point, your returns can then fund your lifestyle. But for you to be able to achieve it, you must have been investing consistently. If you don't invest consistently, there's no how you'll be able to grow your portfolio to be able to actually fund your lifestyle.
Right. Thank you. The last but not the least question. What's one key advice you would give to every freelancer listening today about starting their investment journey, even if they think that they don't have enough money to begin yet?
For, I don't, okay, so I'm going to give the first advice I'll give to any freelancer listening is start now. Start now. And the first step to starting now is doing a financial audit. Where am I right now in my finances? Am I just earning and spending? Or am I earning and I'm saving something? There are some people that are now are way past the stage of earning and spending. They are now, they are earning and they are saving. If you are just earning and saving, then while you've done well, but you've not done so well because you're just keeping your money in a savings account. So you need to earn and invest. Right? So do a financial audit, know how you're spending your money. Because if you cannot track how you're spending your money, there's no how you can invest your money. Then I would also want to advise that automate. Don't rely on self-will to help you invest your money. Rather just automate. And to buttress my point on automation, I would like to give a perfect example. A few years ago, I think I was just out of school and I was earning. And guess what? I'd automated my investment to take a chunk of my money every month to be invested, right? It's like a person, it's a huge chunk of my money to be invested. So on this fateful December, I had the plan to do what people known as Dirty December, where you go and you spend your money and all of that. So I had that plan. So as soon as my salary came, I remembered that I was supposed to invest. But guess what? I did not invest because I wanted to do Dirty December. So on this fateful day, I was lying down on the bed. I was lying down, I woke up. When I woke up, not the normal thing you do, you just stretch your hand and then you pick up your phone to just see what is going on, maybe calls or messages. So when I picked up my phone, I just went, I don't even know what took my eyes there. I just went to my message and I opened it and I saw a certain deduction and I screamed. My sister had to come from the other room to ask, why are you screaming? And I was like, who used my card to pay for something? How can I, I was like, I was confused now. How can they take this amount of my money? I was like, I'm going to the bank, I was flying off and all of that. Then my mom was like, wait, so you're shouting. Have you checked the narrative? I was like, I saw something where my mom was like, check the narrative that they will definitely be there. Then I checked it and then I saw my investments, the name of my investment house. And I just kept quiet. At that point, my mom was like, Kloshele in Yoruba. What you mean in Yoruba is wapo. Kloshele is wap. Mom was like, Kloshele. I was like, Mommy, don't worry. Shall I tell me now? I now explained to her. The way you're laughing, that was me, my mom laugh. And I was like, Mommy, I don't want to invest this money. She was like, so why did you invest? I was like, I automated. She was like, you're the one that automate your money now. so that is just to tell you that even when me decided that even when I decided that I was not going to invest my money, guess what? Because I have automated it, the money still went. But imagine I've not automated it. Whenever I feel like I don't feel like investing, I'm not going to invest. But whenever I forget to invest, I'm not going to invest. But the fact that I've automated, when I feel like I'm definitely going to invest. But and the funny thing is, few years down the lane, you'll be glad that you actually automate your investments. So those are the two advice I would give to you.
It's quite unfortunate that December did you dirty instead of you to do dirty December.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Florence. It's been insightful talking to you. I mean, I personally have learned a lot and I can't wait for my audience to also learn from your wealth of knowledge. So just before we call it a wrap, as usual, I'm going to ask you one question you have for the next guest that will be coming on this podcast. So what question do you have for the next guest?
I think the next the question I have for the next guest is actually two. So I think two in one.
Okay.
What is the best advice you've gotten so far as it relates to your finances? And the second is, what is your biggest financial mistake? What's your biggest financial mistake?
I can't wait to hear what my next guest will have to say about that.
Good.
Thank you so much, Florence. It's been beautiful having you here. And we are happy to have you represent Money Africa here and talk to us. And I wish you the absolute best.
Thank you so much, Adeze. It's nice for me here. And I'm looking forward to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.